Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Robinson, and I'm from Verlang, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the first of today's sessions, which is entitled Blockchain, More Than Just Bitcoin. So the idea of this session this morning is to give a very brief insight into what blockchain is and how it will be used in the future, and actually how it can be used and is being used at this current time. I'm joined this morning by a magnificent panel. So what I will do is I will let each of you introduce yourselves. So Zain, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Zain Rana. I'm the founder of Datify. Essentially what we are doing is decentralizing the currency of the internet, which is data, and allowing people to loan that value and mint stable coins and pay less online using that.
Excellent, fantastic. We have Ed Chapman from INS. Morning, Ed. Could I just ask you to give a brief introduction? Or Amarjeet, can you hear me? Can you give us a brief introduction? Okay, so mate, we'll come back to introduction shortly. So I'll tell you what we will start with, Zain, very quickly is the sort of first overarching question, and it's a question that I get asked anytime I'd speak to people about what I do and blockchain and what have you, and it's $1 million question. What is blockchain?
Yeah, a lot of hype surrounding blockchain. It's almost became a buzzword. But on a simple level, blockchain is a data structure. It allows us to create decentralized technologies. So essentially, you can trust math, code, and put your trust in that rather than having any trusted third party or centralized entity, whether that's in insurance or cryptocurrencies or if it's decentralized finance. There's so many different use cases, essentially where we rely on computing power rather than trusting companies and entities.
Okay, interesting. And can the guys hear us now? Ed, Jeet, can you hear us? Currently not, no. So we'll soldier on you and I, Zain, at this moment in time. So I'm going to be heavily focused on you.
That's fine.
So in terms of blockchain, so you've mentioned there the decentralized aspect of it, which is obviously the key. As far as I'm concerned, and as the information that I've seen in blockchain, in the areas of blockchain that I've worked in, there's differing trends all the time. What do you see the current trends in blockchain are?
Well, I mean, Bitcoin gathered a lot of hype with the public, especially in 2017, 2018. And around that time, I still remember everything was around payments, trying to replace fiat currency, and that was the sole purpose, or well, not the sole purpose, but the sole, I guess, attention by the public and media. Beyond that, the current trends are in actual real-world technology and use cases. So one that's trending a lot right now is decentralized finance. So decentralized finance essentially allows you to use an open world of financial features. Rather than a bank or any government, you and I can loan money between one another and trust an open code between that. I can generate stable coins that are pegged to $1 or £1 British. There's so many different features that you can use, essentially allowing everyone to be their own bank. And currently that's gaining a lot of traction because of how much value is being locked in decentralized finance. So I think I checked most recently last week, we were at almost $5 billion locked just in decentralized finance.
Wow.
And that's people all around the world trusting this open code, locking their Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrencies in this, and they receive interest or rewards on that by loaning it out, or they may want to use it as collateral to borrow against. So if I have one Bitcoin, I could borrow against that and almost acting like a deposit. And so many people are now putting trust in that because it's working. Obviously, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There have been some cases of it going wrong with bugs being exposed in code and people losing their capital and funds. But right now, it's actually gaining a lot of attention, and it's actually really exciting if you think about it, because it's not restricted geographically. I could be in one of the poorest countries in the world, and I could still use this open world of finance, this open world of financial features, which is quite exciting.
It sounds, and if this is something that's going to grow, how do you think that can be adopted and really pushed forward?
Well, decentralized finance, most of the value being locked is currently from the cryptocurrency community. So those who are very, whether it's traders or those who are heavily investing in Bitcoin or altcoins. So that's currently the point we've reached, which is pretty amazing, is only by that one community. We haven't actually seen the retail or the mainstream public enter, as in just the guy from your corner shop talking about decentralized finance. So there's so much of a long way to go. We've barely even scratched the surface. And I think one of the issues for adoption is mainly because it's way too complex to use.
Yeah.
When you use the internet, you don't need to worry about how it works on the back end. You just use it. You put Wi-Fi on your phone or your laptop, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And decentralized finance, right now, there are some better looking interfaces to use it, as in anybody could use it without complex terminology. But there is other barriers, whereas some people may not want to hold cryptocurrency or the risks associated with cryptocurrency, or they may be skeptical of using exchanges and stuff like that. So we are at this point where adoption is an issue, and it's mainly because we are not reaching to a mainstream individual, an ordinary person who doesn't know what blockchain even is.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess the big picture, the long-term picture, what do you think that looks like?
Well, hopefully, I see decentralized finance being, once we start getting retail and average individuals locking value in this, receiving rewards, generating stable coins, borrowing against it, whether it may be insurance as well, whereas we can both be insured, and that's all done publicly and openly. I think the industry will boom. I think it will grow a lot. I think a lot of people talk about it being in a bubble, but I don't think we've even hit the main part of the bubble yet. I think there's so much more to go, and that will come with aggressive adoption, acquiring the absolute average individual. It's sort of like Coinbase. So many people have heard of Coinbase, and they made it incredibly simple for you to purchase cryptocurrency, and because of that, it is so well adopted. By those who are very familiar with trading and investing, they may not use Coinbase because of, for whatever reason, there may be fees or whatever purpose they have. There's other exchanges and there's decentralized exchanges. But what Coinbase did, which is brilliant, is bridge the ordinary person to simply press a few buttons and purchase Bitcoin or purchase cryptocurrency. And it's following that will happen for decentralized finance and decentralized finance features. And when it does, that part of blockchain, that part of cryptocurrency will grow to levels we can't even fathom right now.
Yeah. So it's I guess, using the Coinbase terminology, it's taking the really heavy tech, taking that out of it and giving it more of a friendly user interface for the general person to use. That's really interesting. I'm gonna try turn to technology again and see if our guys in the background can hear us. So Ed, Amajit, can you hear me calling you? No. Okay, not yet. Okay, we will soldier on then, Zane. We will soldier on.
That's fine.
So, going back to sort of moving away from decentralized finance and sort of more back into what generally blockchain is. Again, from the way that I approach blockchain in my working life and sort of the risks we have to try and look at and the risk exposures we have to look at, one of the big problems from an underwriting perspective that we have or insurers have is it's the whole educational piece in that, okay, the brand that blockchain has very often been tied up with Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
And blockchain, because of that, sometimes gets a very bad press because it's kind of seen as the answer to undefined problems or problems that aren't really there. So, and I've seen lots of companies wanting to use blockchain technology. What do you think are the main criteria that businesses that want to get involved in using blockchain technology? What do you think is the main criteria that those businesses should look at?
Well, blockchain itself is not this answer for everything. Like many technologies, not everything is suited to absolutely every industry and every business use case. For example, if you had a sandwich shop, you may not use artificial intelligence. And with blockchain, I prefer, when I talk about it and when I talk to anybody who wants to implement it, it's mainly used for low trust environments. So if me and you want to transact data, or if we want to transact an asset, or if we want to transact a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin demonstrated, we can do that using blockchain because we may not trust each other until we get to know each other for a long period of time, or have a bank to act as a facilitating entity. So I think blockchain is mainly suited for any environment where you want to authenticate a transaction. So for insurance, for example, as you mentioned, you're able to hard code this on the blockchain, upload the code publicly, and anybody, not just me and you, but anybody could trust in that, in this insurance code on the blockchain, or this insurance smart contract. So smart contracts are one of the brilliant use cases of blockchain technology. And what smart contracts offer is almost instantly executable terms. So if me and you both said, okay, when this term and that term is fulfilled, this will happen. As in, if it was insurance, if Zane's property was filled with water, this is a vague example, on this day before his insurance is expired, he would receive the payout of X amount. Of course, it would be much more complicated, but on a simple level, it would work like that. Once the terms have been fulfilled, the contract is executed in a smart, automatic way. So there's so many different use cases, and that is one example. It's a very simple example of a low trust environment use case for blockchain technology, but it has its drawbacks. So if I try to apply blockchain to absolutely every use case, business or just in every industry, there's so many drawbacks that I would have to face, for example, with scalability. So how decentralized you make it, if it's completely publicly accessible, and if you have a completely public consensus where the transactions are agreed upon, so many different computers have to verify that transaction. Because of that, the scalability, or the rate the network performs in transactions per second, is really struggling. So, for example, we may have to wait a very long time for a transaction to be approved on the blockchain network. So is that actually a trade-off for the business use case is another thing you have to take into account. If it isn't, you could still use blockchain, but you may have to use more of a private version of it, or a permissioned version of blockchain technology. But these are the things you have to look at. I do remember around 2016 time, there was just businesses adding the word blockchain, and there was one example of, I think it was a publicly traded company, and they added the word blockchain, and their share price just took off to the roof. And it's just an example of, it's great that so many people look at it as this exciting, promising opportunity, and it is, but it has its particular use cases, if that makes sense. It's not a silver bullet for every scenario.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I've seen the same. So I've worked with businesses where they will say, look, we're going to run this blockchain business, we're going to use blockchain technology, and the sort of response I give is, could you do that without blockchain?
Absolutely.
Yes,
First
we can.
question you should ask. Then
why are you adding an extra layer of potential problems into it? So it's that, again, I guess it's that education of, okay, is this just a buzzword? Is it synonymously linked with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin? Well, we know it's a technology that sits behind it, but the two don't go hand in hand. So there are a hell of a lot of use cases out there. Obviously, decentralized finance is one of them. Again, I guess it's another $1 million question, but what, in terms of use cases, and again, I guess it's looking to a crystal ball, but what do you think, in your opinion, the sort of major use cases aside from decentralized finance? What do you think it's ideally suited for?
I mean, even just taking away from the loaning or the stable coins or the insurance or the decentralized exchanges side of DeFi, just cryptocurrency itself, I mean, it may get some negative press, but I'm still a massive advocate for cryptocurrency. I think it's a brilliant example. Bitcoin changed the way we viewed an economy entirely, and it may have drawbacks. You may have to wait 20 minutes for a transaction to be approved, but if you think about it, this is something that's being done without me and you having to know each other, or a bank having to be part of that, or PayPal or any other centralized entity. And it's all public, it's completely approved. Everyone can verify, okay, this person has sent another person X amount. And that paradigm, this new way of viewing an economy, applied to so many different industries, and now it's going from financial side to transacting cryptocurrency and using it for governance, to actually using for what we are working on right now, which is building this decentralized data economy, which uses the same I guess, exciting aspect of transacting without control and transacting without censorship. But what it does is actually, what Datify itself is working on is actually building this way where everyone can capture their digital activities. So when you surf the web, or when you buy things online, or when you go on social media, storing it and encrypting it in a blockchain profile, and then having applications build on top of that. And what's even more exciting is that digital activity that you produce every single day, unless you don't use the internet, which almost everyone does, it's tokenized on the blockchain, so it actually becomes a spendable, programmable token, and you can then use that to loan against value. You can then use that to issue stable coins, and for so many different other use cases. So, I mean, I'm still a massive advocate for this side of it. There is healthcare, which is another thing that I was quite interested in, but healthcare is a little bit of a special case because there's so many privacy issues, and you then have to work on heavy encryption approaches. But I mean, cryptocurrency may get negative press, but that's probably my answer. I'm still, maybe it's just because I'm an investor, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I really do.
So, sticking with digital currencies then, there's obviously, there's a lot of talk in the press and across user groups and what have you that I sort of conversate with. So with digital currencies and central banks, sort of what central banks and digital currency, what's that all about, and how do you think that will affect the future in terms of how is a digital currency going to get involved with central banks and vice versa, do you think?
Hopefully. So I personally don't think traditional finance will go away anytime soon. A lot of people always feel comfortable, and there are a lot of advantages. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of advantages in having a trusted party to, I guess, mediate any issues that may occur, if there's any, which can't be done as easily with blockchain technology, because you then need to trust someone, or you need to hard code that in the first place. But I don't see the two relying on one or the other to go away. I think maybe in the future we can actually have them joining together. So this is actually something that we were working on as well, because we have the NatWest Bank as one of our incubating partners for Datify. So we're trying to work on this way where we can bridge traditional finance to decentralized finance, which is exciting because it means the ordinary person will be able to lock value in DeFi without actually having to have too much complexities in that process. So I really do think both will bridge together, and when that does happen, both industry, well, decentralized finance, because it's more early, it would have a massive aspect. It would have a massive, I guess, upwards trajectory for that, and it'll be a massive plus for the industry. But that's really where I see the industries going together and aligning together for a mutually beneficial approach.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, Ed, Amajit, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Zain and Mark show.
Hello.
So,
you made it.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire some questions at you just to get you involved. So Amajit, I'll throw one across to you. So Zain and I have discussed applications of blockchain. We've discussed central banks and digital currencies, and the fact that blockchain shouldn't be synonymous with cryptocurrency. Just in terms of firms that are looking to get involved in blockchain, what do you think the risks that firms should think about if they're looking to get involved in the technology?
I think from my perspective, I'd say that firms should actually try to understand what the technology is and actually make sure that actually it's the right technology to answer the challenge that they're posing. I think we still see a lot of, and I think Gartner did a good piece on this, where if you follow the sort of, they're following blockchain on the same path as any technology, where it gets overhyped, then you get into the trough of disenchantment, and then you sort of go up again to the right place you need to go to. I think firms actually need to make sure that what they're using or what they're planning to use blockchain for actually does meet and does, address the actual requirements. And it's not just the latest hype, which they've, sort of used for what they are. Because the technology is really useful, has really brilliant benefits, there's some great, positives, but it has to be used in the right way. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Ed, you look at this, the technology from a legal perspective, obviously, and I mean, as a financial services person myself, obviously the regulatory piece is massive, absolutely huge. What are the regulatory challenges in the UK that are associated with blockchain technology? What's the UK position? Which again is a question that we could probably answer over the course of about a month, but just sort of high level, what are the regulations looking like here in the UK?
Well, that's right, Mark. It's a very complex issue, and we're talking about regulating any new technology. It brings with it challenges, and the law isn't exactly a fast-moving piece, so the tech industry is moving faster than the regulators and the government. I think, first of all, you need clarity over the key concepts and the definitions, so we're moving quicker now in the UK. It was a bit slow for a while. You had more nimble jurisdictions, smaller ones, maybe Malta, Gibraltar, those sort of places were taking the lead on this. But the UK has stepped forward in recent times. So last year, towards the end of last year, we had the Law Tech panel came out with some groundbreaking for the UK statement saying two key findings. One, that crypto assets can be property under UK law, which is a fascinating discussion in itself. And the second one is that smart contracts can now be viewed as legal contracts. So again, two big moves forward in the regulation. It won't be overnight, but I think you're now seeing judges and case law backing that up. So it's about creating a system around the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms, I mean, Zain and I have mentioned it a couple of times already this morning. You've just mentioned it there again. Smart contracts. I discuss or try and explain smart contracts to people quite regularly, and it seems to come across as some sort of magic recipe. What is a smart contract, and what effectively what can they be used for? Happy for either of you to pick that one up if one of you can hear me and the other can't. Nope, we may have gone again.
You're back again.
Okay, fantastic. I was just saying, smart contracts. I discuss smart contracts with a lot of people. What actually is a smart contract, and what can it be used for?
Is that still me?
Yeah, who do you want to
Okay, so smart contracts, and we're talking about computer code which can automate obligations and outcomes generally based on predefined events, so like a traditional contract in that sense. And I think it's an extension of making contracts electronic, which we're already in the process of. We started off with written contracts, increasingly that's electronic now, we have electronic signing, and so it's all about the next stage from that really. And I think it's got great potential at the moment for simpler issues where the outcomes are clear. So let's say you have an escrow account, you have monies that are stored somewhere, and after a period of time that money is released to a party. That can be automated now through a smart contract, so saving everybody time at both ends of the transaction. I mean, that said, there will be a lot of ambiguity still around what the code actually means, because it's okay for coders, but for the general layperson, the people interacting with these contracts, there might be some skepticism about what's involved and what the code does. So I think it's a step-by-step process, but I think what you might see is smart contracts alongside traditional contracts. So as certain aspects are automated, where there might be an overarching traditional agreement for now.
I think for us, actually, we see smart contracts as being really the most powerful piece of digital currency as well, because with smart contracts combined with digital currency, it really gives you the power then to actually do a lot more with regards to automation and with regards to end-to-end. But with smart contracts, as Ed just said, comes dangers as well. Do you understand the risks in what it's doing automatically for you? So, for example, on blockchain.ey.com, we've got a demo smart contract, beta one tester. You can stick your smart contract in; it'll give you code. But for me, from a classic auditor perspective, I'm also really worried about, will the smart contract do what it's supposed to do? But to me, that's where the real power and the real benefit of digital currencies or blockchain in supply chain, etc., really come when you actually merge these together and give that power of smart contracts.
Absolutely, I think, and supply chain as well is something that is being talked about a lot now in blockchain. So I know the likes of IBM are working with some fairly sizable businesses looking at the blockchain around the supply chain. So I think what we've got overall from this morning is that, yeah, blockchain isn't synonymous with just Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. There is a world of different applications out there. So maybe when people hear the term blockchain, they don't need to panic and head for the hills thinking of Silk Road and all the bad press that's come around all of that. So I think what I'm getting from everyone is that it's a really, really exciting sector, and it's really nice to share a stage with people that agree with me. So I'm not the only person here thinking that, which is nice for me. What I'd like to do is thank all three of you for joining me this morning. It's been a really, really good talk in my opinion. I hope that everyone watching at home has enjoyed that as well. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but I would stress that if people at home would like to jump on the website and look at the speakers' profiles, because we haven't had time to introduce them this morning, that'd be fantastic. But again, guys, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure.